30s and 40s, and one of the most striking things about Alice Faye musicals is how they managed to arouse nostalgia even in the 30s and 40s. Now, this 1939 one, for instance, took audiences back to the 1920s. The plot of this 1941 offering began in the world of 1919. This one from 1939 and this 1941 both took place during the First World War. The opening credits on this 1939 one told us it was 1913. It was back to the beginning of the century in this 1940 musical. We were there again in this 1943 one, while this one in 1938 was all about how Alice Faye had to choose between Tyrone Power and Don Amici during the 1870s, which all covers such a broad canvas that before we could even begin reminiscing about Miss Faye and her films, we obviously had to get in an expert on the subject. So may I now present that expert. Ladies and gentlemen, the beguiling star who upgraded the fantasies of an entire generation, Miss Alice Faye. Well, I don't know how we're going to stop that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Alice, how do you feel about nostalgia? Do you actually enjoy thinking back to that period of your life, all those 20th Century Fox films?
Only on a rainy day.
Only, yeah. It must be very warming on a rainy
day. It is.
Rainy. But I mean, was it on the whole a happy time?
It was a beautiful time.
Yeah?
It really was.
All right.
It was hard work, but it was worth it.
Well, let's see if we can wander through it a bit. We can begin by taking Alice right back to her first ever screen appearance, the one that led to her long association with the Fox Studios. It was in a 1934 musical called George White's Scandals, where straight after the opening titles, she appeared on screen singing this.
Oh, you nasty man, taking your love on the easy plan, here and there and where you can. Oh, you nasty man, you're not fooling me. I've got you figured from A to Z, but you're darn good company. Oh, you big bad man, you sweet nasty, I know what's on your mind. You full of fancy, make me sizzle and then you sizzle. Oh, you nasty man, I never met anyone who can be as bad or better than you nasty. Who taught you that? Oh, you nasty, don't never do that. Oh, you nasty man.
That's a big scene, that was. That was when money was still in style. Now, how clearly can you remember doing that scene?
Honestly, not very clear.
Not very clear.
That's a long time
well,
ago.
Well, prior to that film, because that was your first film appearance, you were a band singer with an orchestra that was led by this bloke. Who was it?
Rudy Valley.
Rudy Valley. How did that film, the George White Scandals, how did it come about? How did you get from being a band singer?
Well, I was singing with Rudy's band, and he did the Fleischman Hour, and I was on that. And we went to California with Fleischman Hour. And he was to do a picture called George White Scandals with a woman that was sort of a Garbo type lady, and it didn't work out, and one of the executives thought that I should have a test. And I had a test, and I was very fortunate.
Were you ambitious? Were you?
I was very ambitious.
Were you?
I was very poor when I was born, and so I had to be very ambitious.
Well, let's look at a couple of the leading men Alice co-starred with after that debut opposite Rudy Valley. Here's one, for instance, that my sister would willingly have walked barefoot over broken glass to. Mind you, she'd had to push my mother out the way first. Now, Alice, just in case anybody doesn't know his name, who was that?
Oh, Tyrone Power.
Tyrone. It's nice to know you can go, about him like that.
We all did.
Another film you made with Tyrone Power also starred this guy, the one on the right.
Al Jolson.
Al Jolson. Goodness gracious. Now, what was he like? Was he easy to work with?
No.
No. That's it. You're not going to hear everybody was wonderful on this show. We go to, well, behind, I must tell you that, over in a corner, we have a piano and the masked fingers of Harry Stoneham. and he's standing by to tinkle at a moment's notice. So let me ask Alice to identify another scene from that same film with Al Joss, which is this scene. Now, can you remember what song you were singing there?
Rose of Washington Square.
Rose of Washington Square. And see, we've got Harry there. Harry, how about just a little brief reminder of it, yeah?
They call me Rose of Washington Square. I'm withering there in basement air. I'm fading rose with all my fancy clothes. They say my turned up nose, it seemed to please artistic people.
Well, the third film that you and Tyrone Power made together was, I believe, one of your favorite films, yeah?
Alexander's Ragtime Band?
Alexander's Ragtime. And now that had some great songs in it.
That's right.
Yeah? Now, can you recall which song you were singing in this scene? This is enough.
Alexander's Ragtime Band.
Alexander's Ragtime Band, which is one that's now, really, as far as I'm concerned anyway, so inescapably associated with you. I think we'll have to call Harry in again. Harry?
Come on in here, come on in here, Alexander's Ragtime Band. Come on in here, come on in here, it's the best band in the land.
That's so right. Now we're proceeding, yeah. I can still remember Gertie Mitchell's trying to persuade her father she'd only take me into the allotment shed to teach me the words of that. Well,
Who was Gertie?
I'll go into that. Listen, she was your replacement, if you must know. We're back with You Can't Have Everything for the piece of film that takes us across the break, because it's the version of its title song that was sung in the picture by an American brother act who made Cain and Abel look like the Osmonds.
So thank your lucky stars by the watching, up and down again, watching, away, by the good road, watching, and I'm watching, boots. You can't have everything. Be satisfied with the little. We don't want anything. Live and laugh and listen, don't be greedy. Help and put it down. Put it down. Well, you holler, put it down. Get him. You that fella, big fella. Get him. Right. Go get it. Go on. Right. Good. Hey, he can't do this for us. He did. He did. Go get it. Go on, get it.
That's real high energy stuff. Now, would you mind putting a name to them for us?
The Ritz Brothers.
The-
Scared to death out. I tell you, I almost forgot.
Were the Ritz Brothers fun to work with?
They were really, really fun. They were fun. They were silly.
Yeah.
I guess you all get silly when you...
When you work
They used to get silly. I don't know what they do now. They don't seem to be so silly.
Under that pressure, I think it's probably the only way you
No,
could
but we
relieve.
used to have fun and
Yeah,
you know.
Well, that You Can't Have Everything film was made in that same extraordinary year. You also did On the Avenue, Wake Up and Live, and You're a Sweetheart. But now, do they all sort of blur in your mind, or
Not really.
you can distinctly
Yes,
remember?
I do.
Yeah,
Each one has its own place.
yeah.
Yeah.
And is that because you keep any kind of souvenirs or keepsakes?
No, I tried that once, but I tell you, it was a little rough, you know.
Yeah.
Shoes and hats and
That's-
feathers.
And then finally you
No,
junk them.
no.
Yeah.
They
Well,
just walked away.
of course, our souvenirs of those films are really stored in this kind of form. Now, that one, that's a lovely one. Perhaps, Harry, you would give us a little...
Never in a million years could there be another you. I would shed a million tears if ever we were through.
Well, Mac Gordon and Harry Ravel, wasn't it, those
Wonderful, wonderful.
songwriters who wrote that? Were they an interesting pair?
Oh, marvelous. Great big, heavy, fat man like so, and a very tiny man. And Mac Gordon, he would sing everything and he would cry. And he'd wipe his eyes and he'd cry. And you know, when he finished, you just fell in love with the song. It was so
And he was the
wonderful.
lyric writer.
He was the lyric
It's
writer.
always the lyric writer.
The other ones are usually very quiet,
The composers.
very
Yeah.
quiet.
Before we move on from that quartet of films that you did in 1937, let's just recall another title song. Now, Harry, again, move the little gadget.
You're a sweetheart, if there ever was one. If there ever was one, it's you.
Thank you. Well, we start moving towards the 40s now with a clip that presented Alice in a slightly less romantic context. It's a scene from the 1939 movie Hollywood Cavalcade, where she found herself at the receiving end of another kind of physical encounter. They were with you all the way on, on that one.
that
Now,
was fun.
let's get the who's out of the way. That impassive character,
Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton. Now,
Yeah.
a scene like that, was it tough? Was it
It was
arduous?
really tough. We had to, every time they hit me with a pie and it wasn't right, I had to clean up, put on another costume and do it again.
So how long would it? How long would
That
it
took
take?
us 3 days.
Really? My goodness, being hit in the
I didn't like lemon custard pie anyhow.
I bet, and because we've never had anybody on the program before who's had first-hand experience of working with Buster Keaton.
Well,
No.
Buster Keaton, it was a star in silent
Yes.
film, so.
Yeah. But did you get to know him at all?
I think I sort of did. I mean, as best anybody could ever get to know Buster Keaton. He was kind of a loner.
Was he? Yeah.
And a very funny man and a real character.
Yeah.
And he was a very wealthy man in his day, and then he lost all of his money. And that's when he did this film, and it was really sad because he had, made millions of dollars.
That was a lovely scene, though.
Yes,
wasn't
it was
it?
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because that film was called Hollywood Cavalcade, let's ask Alice to remind us of some of the less prominently billed actors she's worked alongside. Those Hollywood rep company faces we used to welcome in movie after movie. Now, here's some of that Hollywood rep company in a film you did in 1943 that was called The Gang's All Here. Now,
Oh, Carmen Miranda.
yeah.
Wonderful lady.
And the guy on the left?
Edward Everett Horton.
Ever heard? Tell us about Carmen Miranda. What?
Wonderful lady.
But-
Tiny little lady, and one brown eye and one green eye.
Oh, extraordinary.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Well, it was in the Gangs All Here, or as it was called over here, The Girls He Left Behind. It had a different title over here. You introduced one of the most kind of brings it all back wartime songs ever. Now, Harry, a little bit.
No love, no nothing, until my baby comes home. No fun with no one, as long as baby must roam.
Has the all clear gone yet? All right, let's stay in the 40s for our next clip, because in the film Tin Pan Alley, we found a moment where, for the first, and I think the only time, Alice shared a song with the other blonde that 20th Century relied on to keep their balance sheet healthy.
I'm the
He's
sheep of Araby.
a very talented fella.
Your love
Plays piano in any key,
belongs to me.
and you should hear him whistle Dardanella.
At night,
His crescendo,
when you're
his tremendo,
asleep.
and what a tune he can blow on a jug.
Into
His avocado,
your tent
sweetheart,
I'll
oh, why he even does the bunny hug.
The
He knows the latest ragtime song,
of
and he can
all
place your hair as Addy.
we
So
like
that is why my heart belongs.
to
My heart belongs to Baghdad Daddy.
You rule this land
Give up
with me.
the billy-o-do, the bodily-o-dee.
The sheep of Araby.
Who was that lady I saw you with, Alice?
The one and only Betty Grable.
Grable. And the portly gentleman,
Billy
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Yeah.
See?
It's
I
funny,
remember.
you were...
I almost said Daniels.
No. but I don't know if you realise that while that clip was on, you were doing all the vadilio-do, vadilio... Well, of course...
Now, you're not going to ask me to do
No,
that.
I'm not going to ask you to do that, but it sort of swam back, didn't it? 'Cause that was the first film where your male lead was someone else who you
John Payne.
did 4 films with. Yeah.
Fine
Let's see John Payne up there.
That's
You've got-
not bad, is it?
There, you've got another one of those hats. That looks like a premature Playboy bunny. That's a lovely hat,
Thank
that
you.
one, wasn't it? Now, good memories of John Payne.
John Payne. Very handsome.
Yeah.
Very handsome. And very brilliant.
Yeah?
And very well read. And very,
I know. Don't rub it in. And mention,
Oh, dear.
mention of John Payne brings us nicely full circle, because it was in one of the musicals Alice did with him that she sang the song which we began the show with. So, Alice, let me ask you, out of all those Fox films that you made, which do you have the most pleasure remembering?
Alexander's Ragtime Band.
Yeah?
And Hello, Frisco.
Hello, Frisco, hello. Well, I don't think we can let you go without, or let Alice go without singing one song all the way through. And I think we all know which song that is. And if this audience here feels impelled to provide a very quiet backing group, they won't get paid a penny extra. Harry.
You'll never know just how much I've missed You'll never know just how much I care. Please. And if I tried, I still couldn't hide my love for you. You ought to know, for haven't I told you so? A million or more times you went away, and my heart went with you. I speak your name in my every breath. It's hard to hit the high ones. If there is some other way to prove that I love you, I swear I don't know how. You'll never know if you don't know now.
And, well, somebody sang that good. On that sentiment, what you might call Alice Faye in Love and War, this is where we have to adjourn the meeting. We hope something in the half hour has provided a bit of the same emotional uplift as that moment in the 1938 film Tailspin, when Miss Alice Faye said to Joan Davis, "To be what a man thinks is a swell girl, you have to know how to say goodbye." But if not, well, just remember that even if it's true that you can't turn the clock back, nothing says you can't occasionally unfasten your winder a little. See you.